Hey, my name's Berenice. I'm a creative who works a 9 to 5, and I, 1, love documenting my travels, and 2, refuse to let any PTO go unused. Welcome! And today, I'd like to talk to you about travel hacks to help you save a little bit of money as you're planning for your next trip. If you have any tips that I didn't mention, drop them in the comments. Let's make this a conversation. This is what I've learned over the past few years of traveling with people or alone. Let's go to tip number 1. I don't know what that was. First tip, if you couldn't tell, has to do with the airport because it's about your flights. One of the best ways to find affordable flights is to be flexible, either with the location or with your dates. There's a couple of tools that you can use. Using a platform like Google Flights, FareDrop. In the past, I used Kayak. It was my trusty friend, but I've found that Google Flights has been super reliable. You can set up alerts through these platforms to let you know when there's a flight deal. With Google Flights specifically, if you're flexible with your location, you can set up the specific dates that you're looking for, and Google Flights will tell you the best places to go within that week, and you can sort them by price. The other way would be to be flexible with the dates. So if you have an idea of where you want to go, you choose a location and you let Google tell you the cheapest time to go to any specific location. A platform like FareDrop, you can select your home airport and it will constantly alert you when there's a flight deal. But the latter you have to pay for, and Google Flights is free. Some people use Skyscanner. I wouldn't book on Skyscanner. What I would do is find the deal and then look for it with that specific airline, or book it through a travel portal with my credit card if I'm using my credit card's travel portal. So really using Google as a tool to find those flights. So the 2 ways to find cheap flights is to either to be flexible with your dates or to be flexible with the location. I think my flight is boarding, so I should probably head over there. In addition to those tips, if you have a travel credit card, which I'll talk about a little bit more later, you can use points or miles to book those flights, and it'll be technically free. Okay, so my flight is delayed again. So I'll tell you tip number 2 here. Tip number 2 is about your itinerary. So I'm not going to go too much in depth about this, right? But when you're planning your itinerary, map everything out that you want to do and section them per location. That way, whether you're taking public transportation, you're driving, or taking, what else is there? Walking, hitchhiking. That way you can do your activities per region. That's going to save you time, it's going to save you money. That might be obvious. There's nothing worse than being in a country, for example, where you have to drive everywhere and everything is within an hour of each other, and you have to go back and forth, and you realize you missed something that you wanted to do that's back from where you came. So a little bit of planning ahead is going to save you some time and money, and it makes it easier for tip number 3, which is the next one. As you probably know, the hotel is going to be one of the most expensive parts of you planning your trip. So all you have to do is ask your rich friend to host you at one of their many properties for free. Duh!
I unfortunately lost the audio for the rest of this section, but obviously I was joking. If calling up your rich friend doesn't work, I have a few more options for you. First, decide what makes sense for your situation, whether it's a hotel or Airbnb. I like to choose based on how safe the neighborhood or country feels to me, and based on research, obviously, whatever people say online. If it's safe, I will lean more towards the Airbnb, but if I feel like I need a little bit more protection, then most of the time I will go with a hotel. Second, I like to book my hotels based on the itinerary. As I mentioned, I group my activities per region, so this step for me comes after the itinerary is somewhat locked. That way, I make sure that the hotel is conveniently placed around the things that I want to do. From there, I will then compare prices across different booking sites like TravelAdvisor, Booking.com, and Hotel.com, obviously Airbnb as well. Once I find a deal or a hotel that I like to cross-reference with the hotel's website to see if they have a better deal. Sometimes they do offer discounts if you book directly with them, so it's always worth checking. Next, for credit card users, you can always use points as well. Most people prefer to save their points for flight deals, but since hotels can be so expensive, I do like to use points here sometimes. I will say though, if you're not booking directly with the hotel, you should always call to make sure that they did receive your reservation. Lastly, if your trip falls on the same dates as major events, there will of course be a price hike. So to save money, you may need to stay a little bit farther from your preferred location. So it's always worth checking what events are going on to make sure that you're making the best decision for yourself based on what's happening and your budget.
So the next tip is gonna be about activities. A lot of the main tourist attraction spots are gonna have a steep price for a tour guide, which sometimes is not always necessary. And it's usually going to cost you 50 US per person minimum, typically. I say save the tours for activities that you actually really wanna do that you would find enrichment from. So let's say it's a hike, but it's a glacier hike and you wanna be safe. Obviously, you're gonna pay someone to get you the right equipment and to take you to the right path. Or let's say it's a cultural tour. I think it makes sense to pay a local, for example, in Belize, we did a Garifuna tour, something like that, where you really want to enrich yourself through education in that way. Absolutely. But you have to decide what's right for you. What's important to me is not necessarily going to be important to you. So decide what's going to be worth paying for. Now, on the other side of it is most things you can do for free, depending on where you're going. So do some research, find out if other people have been, find out how you can make it there, look up their website. They will tell you if a guide is necessary. It's really about how you like to travel, how you like to learn. Do you want to just Google the information and walk through a site yourself? Or do you actually want a tour guide to take you through the city? That's gonna be up to you. The way to make this more budget friendly is gonna be to do most things alone, which requires a little bit more research, but saves your pockets, you know? Next tip. Don't look at this mess. Let's go. Oh, cheers. So the next tip is gonna be about eating. Well, food. Depending on where you're traveling and depending on your hotel situation, if you're staying at an Airbnb, for example, you most likely have a kitchen. So what you can do is purchase your own groceries. Now, there are places where that's gonna be expensive. I feel like in most cases, cooking your own food is gonna be cheaper. If you want to taste local cuisine and save money, a good way that I go about it is eating out one meal a day. One good tip that I have is to bring snacks with you. You can't go wrong with that. I always try to travel with protein bars, especially where there's gonna be some sort of like physical activity. And in the morning, that's usually kind of breakfast, really, like is protein bars. Bring your own snacks, grocery shop and cook for yourself. And the third tip actually would be to eat at non-touristy stops. Obviously, if you're gonna pick a touristy hotel, they're gonna upcharge you, so it's gonna be a little bit more expensive. If you're staying closer to the authentic food, you can find local places to eat. If you're taking a cab, for example, you can ask your taxi driver, you can ask at reception at your hotel, you can ask your Airbnb host for recommendation of like, you know, good local spots. Those are more than likely gonna be cheaper than eating at a restaurant. And not only do you get a better taste of the culture, and you also support the locals of the place you're visiting. Win-win. All right, I'm gonna finish this. On to the next tip. So I mentioned this a couple times earlier. Travel credit card. If you're not good at managing your money, you should probably skip this tip. Going into debt for travel is not worth it. If you're good at managing your money, then this tip is for you. So travel credit card has so many perks that's kind of save you money. I'm hesitant to say save you money because some of them are things that you wouldn't necessarily spend on. For example, I discovered lounges only after I got a credit card. So there are multiple credit cards that you can use. The one that I like the most is the Capital One Venture X card. It technically kind of just pays for itself as long as you use the perks. And the perks are things that you're gonna use anyway. For example, you get a $300 travel credit every year and a $100 anniversary credit every year. That's $400 if you use them, and the card costs you $395. I've considered getting something like an Amex, but there are multiple other videos from other people that can break this down to you. I can recommend a few if you'd like, but you have so many different types of perks that you might not use that are not very beneficial, so really you're not saving money. So for me, this is the best option. I used to have a Chase card as well, but this is my favorite. And back to the perks. So, lounge access. It's one of those things you don't know that you need or like. You don't need it until you use it. It's so nice to have a place to go into the airport where, you know, the bathrooms are gonna be clean. There's gonna be food most of the time. Not every lounge has food, but there's foods, there's drinks. It's away from the hustle bustle of the airport, so you can have like a quiet place to, whether it's work or just hang out. Some of them have beds, so it's just a nice to have. So that's the value you're getting out of the credit card, which is completely free to you as a credit card user. And the points. Every different card has different point system. But regardless, as long as you swipe it, you're getting points back. I've heard people say that you're spending more because you have a credit card. If you're only charging things that you're already gonna pay for, number one, and number two, you're paying it off at the end of every billing cycle, you're not gonna be running up interest, and you're getting money back for living your life. And three, a lot of the travel credit cards don't have a foreign transaction fee. So you can swipe it when you're traveling without being afraid of incurring a fee. One of the other things that I like about this specific credit card is that you do get $100 to spend on either TSA pre-check or global entry. If you're gonna pick one, you might as well pick global entry, because with global entry, you get access to TSA pre-check. So your first year, regardless, you're getting that $300 travel credit, the global entry, the sign-up bonus, and you get money back for spending on things that you would spend on anyway. To me, that seems like a no-brainer. Now, you can also get a travel credit card that doesn't have an annual fee. You'll still get no foreign transaction fees in most cases. If not, then get a new card. You still get points back for every purchase. You just might not get the fun perks, right? So you wouldn't get like priority pass, lounge access, the global entry or TSA pre-check fee covered, you know? But if you are scared and you wanna get a starter card, then you should do that. Bonus tip though, in order to make sure you qualify for the higher bonus, if you do plan on getting a higher tier credit card, don't get that no annual fee card with that same company. Do you follow me? Let's say you wanted the Venture X with Capital One. Do not get the no annual fee version with Capital One if you don't already have a Capital One card, because when you sign up for the higher tier card, a lot of times you don't qualify for the bonus or as high of a bonus. Look this up. This is not universal across all cards. Cool? Cool. All right, let's go to the next tip. I have changed because it's the next day. I actually recorded the end of this video last night, but apparently I still have some things to figure out about this camera because there was no sound. Anyway, this tip, which might be so obvious, you might ask me, why is this even in here? I think it's worth mentioning anyway. This tip is to pack light. So I usually only travel with a backpack and a carry-on, and I take both with me on the plane. But this saves you money because if you're bringing a checked bag, obviously you have to pay for it in most cases. If you're traveling internationally, sometimes maybe the flight there is covered, but on the way back, sometimes you might have to pay depending on like who you're flying with. Also, it's just easier to carry around, especially in my solo trips when I have to lug everything myself. I want to be able to move, you know? Like, I want to be as efficient as possible by myself. So I pack a carry-on, a backpack, and it makes things so much easier and it saves you money. Gonna finish packing this up and then head to the airport. By the way, I worked on a completely free packing guide, well, packing checklist. Feel free to check the description and it's free, so check it out. These are laundry sheets. Apparently, not only does it make your luggage smell good, it also repels insects and rodents. My clothes, compression packing cube. When I pack this one, I pack this tiny one, which fits right here. And I still have space if I squish it to add something here. On this side, more laundry sheets, shoes, my purse. Actually, to save space, what I've done is this is actually my snack bag. It has green powders, electrolytes, some protein bars. To save space, since this is empty, just throw it in here. Oh yeah, it comes off. Pack it in here, and it fits right here. Liquids, other toiletry items that don't have any liquids, and it fits right here. Random pair of socks that I forgot about. Some of my gym clothes that I wore today that didn't have enough time to dry. Let's see if this closes. Moment of truth. A lot of the things I mentioned here are in my packing list, also linked in the description in my Travels Essentials link. So if you're interested, check it out. Forgot my leftovers. In my laptop, apparently. All right, now let's go.
Safe travels.
Thank you. I am waiting for my Uber and got a tea at the cafe here. Everyone who works there is super nice, first of all, but this gentleman had an extra coupon and he paid for my drink. That's so nice. He could have used it on anyone else, and I'm so grateful and I'm so happy. I hope everything good ever always happens to him and his family. He's so nice. Looks like my car's here already, so time to go. Hi.
So you're in there for the most part, it was pretty.
The last tip is going to be about public transportation. I don't ever assume that I know how any new country works. Sometimes Ubering around is going to be cheaper, like Cartagena. Ubers were so easy and you could call a taxi from the Uber app. Sometimes driving is better, like in Portugal, well, Madeira specifically, or like the Azores. And other times, like let's say you're staying in a city like New York, you can take the subway and get around. So it's really about just doing a little bit of research to find out what works where you're going. And that can be as easy as looking up vlogs like the ones that I have, or just researching best ways to get around on Reddit or Google, or TikTok. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And if you have any additional tips, make sure to drop them in the comments as well. Until next time, my name is Berenice. I'll see you in the next vlog. Oh, wait. One more thing. Don't look at the mess. I feel like in most... I'm drunk. Hey. Hi.